Greetings, Marv Gardens here, reporting in for this Sunday day. How is everybody doing? Um, so today we will be talking about religious matters. Specifically, I will be going into Proverbs chapter 5 verses 1 to 23. And that's all about adultery. And the reason why I decided to pick adultery is because, I feel like every male is bothered by that temptation, and I feel like every female is pressured against that temptation. When you take these opposites and you try to keep a relationship together with these polars, it can always lead to things that conflict. So, you know, as a proverb, it's always going to be advice or essentially advice against whatever it's talking about, in this case adultery. I can't really break it down verse by verse because that's summarization of it. So what I'm going to do is talk about its significance in today's world. I get the point of adultery back then in a world where, women may not have been as available back in the day. Like if a man was born in a certain country in a certain area, it was probably bound to that area in more ways than you would think. And we're talking about a world here where there was no mass communication. So if there was X amount of women in the area, that's it. Realistically. So, I can see how this can breed a very stringent society in terms of affairs with women, because a man can lose his mind in a world in which women are not available. And I say available in the sense that you can be friends with all the women in the world, but every man, male boy, any man, male boy who has hit that special moment in their life when they become aware of women will have that desire to want to be with women. Woman, 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 one man, woman. Realistically, woman, but societally speaking, woman. Either way, he still gets what he wants. So, when you talk about a world in which, women may not, you literally counting on fingers how many women are realistically available to you. It can become very depressing because, women on the other hand have always been available to any man, no matter what the time period is, because women will always be sought out as a resource, as an accomplishment, a purpose to an end, that last puzzle piece. So for a male who's stuck in a situation where choices are beyond limited, I can see how the threat of the adulterer is so temptatious, because I can already visualize how they would grow you up. They would basically say, if you meet a female, you cling to that female and thank God that a female chose you. And I feel like for most part that will work. However, as we all know, no matter who you are as a male, no matter what denomination you are, you're gonna always have the desire to want another man's wife or whatever. And that is a natural innate desire. Like I talked yesterday about animal desire. It's a male animal's desire to procreate. Now, logically speaking, males don't seek to have babies with every woman in the world. We That's how you, that's, I can see how they adopted the term human, because only a human would take the desire to procreate and change it into a more plausible feeling, which is to basically sleep with women. So when you talk about the Bible specifically saying like, yo, if you with your wife and then you wake up the next morning, you go to work and you see your neighbor's wife or whatever, or your coworker's wife, you know, leave it alone. And that's easy. That's always easier said than done, because, like I just said, as much as you can apply. I guess I didn't do that one justice. You can apply rationality to animal instincts, but animal instincts will win in the end. If like, and the reason why they will win is because it doesn't take too much imagination to think of a plausible situation in which you would become an adulterer. I mean, it's like crime. It's like, basically, if the opportunity is there, why not? And not to encourage crime, but what I'm saying is that that's the mentality. If I have the opportunity to be with another woman, if you have the opportunity to be with another woman, why not? So what I'm going to say is, I feel like this throws too much perspective on the male's part, because it's always I guess it's more of a habit to focus on the male point of view, because I've also talked about how feminine points of view are often societally dictated. So if you can use society to standardize the female's point of view, I can see how it can be easy to focus advice on a male's point of view. However, I want you to consider this though. As much time and as much effort as you could put into a woman, consider this. Even if you put all of this into a woman, what does she really have to do to maintain this? You see what I mean? And this is how the argument of the adulterer is defeated. Because 100 men can try for one woman, but she won't get the workload that you are putting into it. Meaning, it's like pushing a wall. You won't notice your work until the wall start moving, and even if the wall start moving, you'll notice it started slow. So that should be a realistic physics for how this stuff works. Women are not going to get that effort that you put in. And because they don't get that effort that you put in, like, they will never fully appreciate you as a male for what you do, because that is the benefit of receiving versus giving. Receiving is always going to be the gift, because it doesn't require work to get something. It requires work to give something. So, that's just the fact of the matter. So when you talking about throwing the term around like adultery, right? I feel like it's inaccurate, because a female is not entitled to anybody. She is not liable to be owned by anybody. You cannot tell a female what to do as you would tell a child. you must always appeal to a female on a uh adult level. Because if you don't, you're talking to a wall anyway. And as you know, you can't move walls without physical force anyway. So, in other words, don't waste your breath, waste your actions. So, you know, I feel like this is a this I can say this is a very controversial topic because in a society where monogamy is always praised and uplifted, I can sound a little bit on the other side of the fence right now talking about being like essentially encouraging adultery, which I'm not. I'm saying the adulterer is not what they used to be. When you're talking about a world in which cities, towns, countries are so populated, are so concentrated in people, you can't say that a woman is not allowed to interact with other males how she feels. Because I feel like if that's the case, if you really wanted to play by the adulterer's rules, then males shouldn't even have any female friends besides their wife. You shouldn't even like you should have so stringent rules on when you're allowed to interact with other females that the thought of an adulterer or adultery is not even a point anymore. So, you know, the reason why I say this because I'm not trying to promote equality. Because when you're talking about adultery, this is not even a right anymore. We're talking about limiting people's choices here, which is a freedom. Choice is a freedom. And this is not a feminist point of view neither. This is evaluating what does it mean to be an adulterer in the 21st century? Like realistically, in a country where like remember, whenever I talk about generalizations or anything like that, my perspective, my realm of knowledge is only extendable as far as the United States of America borders go. I am not in a position to generalize anywhere else. So in a world in my United States of America world where people are entitled to freedoms, I'm the last person that's going to join the crowd and is saying that a female is an adulterer, because females are don't have the I feel like they don't have the same easy street that they used to have, because you know back in the day they mentioned something about a dowry, and I feel like females have that per se, but it's just not the same thing like it used to be. And you know that's just one thing. In terms of, I don't entertain the idea of chivalry as ever being an advantage, because chivalry has nothing to do with anything, has nothing to do with male to female relations, especially if you're talking about a male and female who are not intimately involved. So, in other words, I feel like given how females have definitely taken some L's compared to back in the day, um, I can't. If a male feels like his female is unfaithful, or he feels like his female is not playing her role as his wife, you can't really say that, because things have changed. The rules of relationship have changed. The rules of interaction have changed. Simply being in a world where going to work is not the end of your day. I said there is no the whole book on how females do things was already rewritten after that. Once society became comfortable you can no longer tell females that they are expected to do anything, because those comforts which we have so gotten accustomed to are here for females as a consolation prize for society essentially not doing its job like it was supposed to. And I guess I can't really talk from a perspective in which, I'm actively in a relationship with a female, and I'm speaking from my personal relationship experience. However, I do know from experience that telling a female how to do things is not going to work. Trying to control how a female do this, it's not going to work. You're better off just saying, you know what, leave, whatever. And I do see the point of view of the verse. Going back to the verse, because the verse specifically aims at those females who decide to keep what they do under wraps and basically play both sides of the field. Which, I feel like that I can't call it wrong, because nobody in this world today is stupid. And I say stupid in the sense that there's no such thing as ghosts. People aren't going to do stuff and not leave a trail. That's what I'm trying to say. So, there's no, I feel like the idea that a female could truly be doing stuff with other males and you not knowing is not going to work. Even if you don't have the social circle to weed this out, you can always go to excessive ends. Like I feel like I'm baiting people to watch my videos. Well, they're not videos, my podcast. Listen to my podcast. But in another podcast, I talked about paying attention. And if you pay enough attention, you'll always be able to catch your wife. And that may sound like very political advice. Like I'm not telling people to govern their wives. I'm saying, if you ever feel like your wife is being suspicious to you, then I feel like you do have the right to go to excessive ends to find out the truth. And this can be taken in many different ways, because people tend to go to the extreme with this type of stuff. Like, I would never tell anybody to if they do catch their wife doing something, to go crazy and shoot the wife, shoot the adulterer male, and shoot themselves. Like no. We're not about to entertain this this news logic stuff, because this is real life, and in real life, people are dispensable. And that's the truth of the fact of the matter, especially males. So, I feel like females are, they are, they don't have that stigma anymore that they really used to have about adultery. Like, it's still that societal tradition to have the public eye for females who adulter, but it's not the same thing like it used to be. Because I feel like if a female decides to wake up one morning and says, I don't like you anymore, then she's entitled to that. It doesn't matter how long you've been together. It doesn't matter how you feel about the situation, and it doesn't matter if you don't feel like her feelings are part of the situation. She has that right. So I feel like what you would call adultery is not really adultery. That's what you call actions speaking louder than words. A female could say she don't like you, right? But you won't believe it until she hugged up with another guy. And then the more involved you are with this female, the more I feel like the more measures she has to take to get this point across, and that's how we get into the adultery situation. Because like, okay, you chilling in bed right now with your spouse, and everything cool, and then she just decides to all of a sudden be like, I ain't feeling this no more. And then you're like, I understand. Like that, like any smart male is not going to antagonize this situation. That's just stupid. But in your head, you like, yo, what is this chick talking about? Like she just trying to get an argument started. Alright, whatever, I'm gonna entertain this. And you know, you're gonna let it go through a talkie, and you know, that's just gonna be it. It's it was like a waste of time because I mean, okay, she made her feelings get out there, but it's like unless I wake up one day with some divorce papers on my lap, or you know, I feel like there's always a way to do things to get that point across. Divorce papers are, I feel like that's the kid's way out because you know when you talking about a commitment, which marriage is a commitment, right? You have to also commit to your escape plan. You can't take the easy way out and be like divorce because how society plays that out is it basically you go through the whole process. You got to get a lawyer. You got like if you ever watch 2.5 Men, then you'll understand the position of Alan. And you know that's that may not be the best example, especially on a religious day, but nonetheless, it's an example. Now, I feel like there are not expectations. There's an etiquette to this, believe it or not, an etiquette to a disrespectful and egregious act, right? And this is the etiquette. A female should allow you to catch her with another guy. I feel like if you really don't like me that much, you should give me that you know what I mean? And you know, that's just the the truth of it. Because if she allows you to catch her, then she just made this whole process so fast. You know what I mean? And you know, we focusing on the female as the adulterer. Males most likely 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's say 4 times as likely to cheat, right? And you know, males. I feel like males get this point across very well. That you know, if you catch me, you catch me, and if you don't, you don't. And you know, that's a I feel like that's the unseen wisdom of being a male. That we tend to leave footprints on purpose. And you know, you have to appreciate that type of honesty because, you know, a mug that'll let you go the rest of your life thinking that you with somebody who your soulmate and they don't even care about you like that. That's a that's a trifling person to be nice about it. And you know, I feel like a lot of this happens to a lot of people. Like you know, just as many people you say that's in happy relationships, happy marriages, yada yada yada. You're gonna have just as many people that's going through some stupid stuff right now. And I feel like the worst off people who decide to allow their spouse to cheat, I feel like those are the worst people because you know if it was already established what type of relationship you was gonna have, then it shouldn't have been called cheating in the first place. And now this may sound crazy. I just on a down low encouraged a relationship in which a spouse is allowed to cheat. Now, why would I do that? I tell you. The reason why I would encourage that is because I feel like societal logic is so dominant that people sometimes just don't know any other way to do it. People don't, like, when you spend so much time letting society dictate your choices, you can find yourself at a point where your choices literally become black and white. You see what I mean? And when your mind is that simplistic, there's no flexibility. There is no you're less like a animal and more like a object. What they say, we got all the directions in the world. You can look on a map and look on a compass and they'll point to every direction in the world, but in reality, you either go up or down. And there are people that really think like this. Like, there is no other direction. It's just up or down. And I'm not, this is for grown folks too. But I'm not trying to tell a grown folk how to be or what to do. But up or down is more than up and down. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And I can't really go into detail because my name ain't Dr. Phil, like I also said before. But what I'm saying is, adultery ain't what it used to be. That's what we getting. That's what I'm trying to get to right now. And the reason why it ain't what it used to be is because we live in a world where, United States of America world. Pay attention to my words. We live in a world where everything is business. And because we live in that type of society, that gives you the flexibility to make this work. Business before pleasure, as they always say, right? Well, if you really about business, then you shouldn't care about pleasure. And I feel like this is where a lot of females lose their credibility as having that pure point of view. Because, first thing they teach you as a kid is you can't bake your cake and eat it too. And life may give you that option to, but are you going to suck yourself like that? Are you going to go back to up and down versus any direction? And I feel like that is the saving grace of adultery. The idea that adultery is not the end of your relationship, but you can make it the end of your relationship. Adultery is your wake-up call. Adultery is your reality. Adultery is how you get to the point that somebody somewhere messed up. And it's always the most emotional person is probably the most guilty. That's the funny part. And I can only say this because I've been through this situation. Now, I've never had a divorce, but I feel like I've spent more money than a divorce, which is time. And that's crazy, because when you realize that you could have avoided a problem by simply addressing it beforehand, it makes you ask yourself, why did I put myself in this position? But I feel like it always goes back to the female, because Females will, they're like a contract. They will sign you up for one thing, but when you actually get to where you need to get to, it turns into everything totally different. And there are no non-guilty parties here though, because whether a female is the one who's the adulterer, whether a male is the one who's the adulterer, there will always be a guilty parties instead of a guilty party. Because if it's viewed as adultery, that means somebody didn't say something. And I feel like that topic is a topic that people tend to get very, very, very serious about, because it's like you when you if you were dating somebody and they brought this up, like if I cheated on you, what would you do? And they like dead serious. Like, you would probably be like, I feel like he's trying to make a fool out of me right now, or she's trying to make a fool out of me right now, because they say that adultery centers around trust, right? And I say trust in the sense that the reason why it's such a heinous crime is because, well, not a crime, you don't go to jail for it. The reason why it's so controversial, it creates a schism, because the premise is that somebody's trust was betrayed. In reality, nobody's trust was betrayed. Somebody skipped a part of the contract that was supposed to be addressed. And it may be very cool to look at a marriage as a contract, but like I said, this is a business America. Everything is a contract. And if someone decides to renege on the contract, you have to ask yourself, do you cut your losses or do you adjust? And I feel like most people cut their losses. Now, we're not going to go into that neither, because people will always have their choices in life to live. You cannot tell anybody that they need any one person. That's a damn lie. You don't need any one person besides yourself. And no motivational stuff needed, but everybody is supposed to be their own cheerleader. And the reason why you're supposed to be your own cheerleader is because if I feel like this is where a lot of females fail too. If you marry somebody because they make you feel like you're the best person in the world, like you what people call they married the perfect person, right? If they're really that significant to you, then I hope to God you make it to the end of your relationship. I hope your whole life is significant and fulfilling. Because if it doesn't, I feel like somewhere in the world there's going to be a tidal wave, a thunderstorm, a tornado, some representation of your world crashing in on itself. And I feel like, I would never set myself up like that. But if you choose to set yourself up like that, then that's what I see. I just hope it works. And going into why adultery does work is because avoiding interpersonal I'm going to avoid making interpersonal advice or any of that stuff, because I'm not here for that. Adultery essentially works on a pure note, because whether it does what it needs to do or doesn't do what it needs to do, at the end of the day your mind is going to be it's going to be made up. And that is the efficiency of adultery. It gets two people who would otherwise just be going back and forth, back and forth. You got lawyers in on this now, back and forth, back and forth. You got your children asking you what's going on. Why I gotta keep going back and forth, like I'm in your relationship or something. It makes the answer obvious. And I feel like that's a wisdom that most people don't get. Because like I just said, if you put yourself at a risk because of your marriage or your relationship or whoever you're dealing with, if they are a risk in the sense that if anything were to happen, it would be a detriment to your life. I hope it works out. And the reason why I say I'm saying this is because going back to what I was just talking about, this back and forth, it's embarrassing. You got grown people bickering over high school puppy love. And that when you think about it like that, that's like wow. I never that really is petty, right? Like it's like your child coming to you talking about their first girlfriend or their first boyfriend and it didn't work out and now life sucks and yada 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 and you like nah, it's only the beginning. It's only the beginning. And people are so different that I can see how people wouldn't even. People don't probably already stop listening to this once I just said that adultery can work. I can understand how you feel because you probably is one of them people that live in that sensitive world where everything is made out of cards. And I can't tell you not to live in that type of home because somebody got to do it. It just won't be me. And I feel like you take that mentality to what's coming out of my mouth right now. But, the reason why I even entertained the idea that adultery can help is because I feel like people take the wrong answers for saving their relationship. Going blonde doesn't save your relationship. Going deaf doesn't save your relationship. Not having feelings doesn't save your relationship. All it means is that all of those self-esteem speeches you used to hear females talking about, like I'm not an object. You're the problem. You're the problem to those speeches. But I might be confusing people right now. The reason why you become an object when you decide to not address things as they need to be addressed is because your ability to respond is cut off. And once you cut off that ability to respond, then you don't already committed an act worse than adultery. You've essentially become an object for human human manipulation, property essentially. And I feel like people in real life stuff, man, you have that position. You choose that position. You willingly choose that position to be an object for somebody because if you don't choose that position, that's it. You're no longer where you need to be. But like I said earlier in this, adultery is just another form of commitment, man. And the reason why it's just another form of commitment is because it's a commitment to what you believe in. If you believe like you want to be with another person, then be with that other person. Excuse me. But that's just a fact of life. That at some point you gonna stop listening to that gut feeling because that's how society has taught you to do. And that gut feeling may not always be right. It's gonna be right 99. It's gonna be right 99% of the time, but that 1% it might just mess your whole life up. However, if you don't listen to that gut feeling and it doesn't work out, then what? But I see your point. Either way, you still made a decision. However, I say the decision could have been easier had you let adultery do its thing. Now, adultery is not the easy answer to everything because, you know, problems in relationships revolve around more than just relationship matters. They revolve more around how much a person likes you. They revolve more around than if a person likes you. Because people lie to each other all the time, so we can't even really say that relationships today are about two people that legitimately care about each other. But this is not to discourage the youth. We are not going to tell you that what you feel for another person is illegitimate, or what you feel no it doesn't matter because you're young. It's just that what you feel will change. That's it. So going back to the adults, um, adultery is not an option. Don't consider adultery like a video game option. It's not a break in. It's not a break in case of emergency thing. What I'm saying adultery is that commitment to your freedom. There are women in the world that will never be tied down for the rest of their life, and that's their choice. There's no, people say, oh, Sean, why she not married, or why she don't got a guy, she a lesbian, and they're lesbians, but not all of them are single. And, I feel like, in my experience with women, if a woman feel like she has a commitment to her own freedom, then by all means, be free. Be free without me, and that's it. And I feel like that's the hidden truth of adultery. That is not on the surface. It's like you're basically interpreting the situation to I want to I want what I want, and this is how I want it. But it's not that. It's not like that. Some women are just more comfortable not needing someone around them, not needing someone who who wants them to need them. Every man has that tendency to want to be free, to want to be with any woman if he wants to. Like every male, well, not every male, but most males have that dream car. You can think of adultery as that dream life, because now we're going to move away from this narrative advice stuff, because this I can see how I feel myself in the spotlight, and I'm sitting here by myself. So I can imagine how people would be looking at me right now if I was talking this stuff in front of a live audience, or you know what I mean, just some crazy stuff. But you know, oh man, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, it's not about you know the action itself. It's more so about how you choose to go about things. And Adultery is it's a life choice. That's it. That's what I'm gonna call it. That's my final critique on it. I don't critique stuff. I usually don't critique stuff. When we talk about a topic that is so heavily critiqued and categorized, I have to critique it. Adultery is a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that most people's uncomfortable with, rightly so. It destroys homes, it breaks up families, it causes a lot of drama, and more importantly, it involves way too many people for it to ever be really like talked about. But the wisdom of all of this is that life is supposed to be what you make. And I feel like people don't make it how they want to make it because life makes them. And if life makes you, then don't get pissed when life starts making you things you don't want to be. If life if once you decide to let life choose who you are, follow life's answers. Don't decide you want to let life choose and then you want to start choosing when you feel like it. But there's a hard path for everybody. I myself preferably take the hard path. So if the hard path is how you choose it, then more power to you. Because there are too many women I would choose the easy path. Neither side is wrong. It's just that those people who tend to jump between these two groups are often the problem of the situation. Um, no woman is a whore. No woman is a slut. No woman has a limit to how many males she can be with, regardless of what society is talking about. Because marriage isn't marriage, it's a business. And if you don't understand this simple concept, then don't get married. Life is not a business. Life doesn't owe you anything. Life is a path. A path that slams shut behind you once you take a certain amount of steps. If you're not okay with this, then go get okay with that. Don't get scared when the door shuts behind you. Get used to it. Not advice. This is the truth. I wish more women were adulterous to me because I feel like my perspective would just be that much more flourished. I wish women felt comfortable enough to put me in that position to be adulterated on. I would never wish adultery on another man. Ironically, adultery, if you pay attention, is for adults. And that's the key part of it. Adults. Adults don't bicker. Adults don't argue. Adults make choices and deal with them. Commit to a marriage. commit to a person, commit to a belief, commit to everything. Because commitment is the key word. Whether you're talking about a monogamous relationship or a promiscuous relationship or anything in between. Who you are is not determined by your label. Who you are is not determined by who you're with. Just be an adult. That is the final message of this adulterous summarization of Proverbs chapter 5 verses 1 through 23. Be an adult and commit to what you do, for better or for worse. And if you can do this, or if you can't do this, commit to something. Commit to it. Commit to doing something as an adult. Commit to not being an adult. Either way, you're going to find yourself at the same end eventually. Now, I must make sure that I'm not talking about advice right now, because it can be very harmful to my reputation as a radio station host to ever be accused of trying to give grown people advice. Never that. So, in order to keep the professionalism of what I'm trying to do here, disregard everything I just said. I just told you a story right now, and now we're at the end. So now your attention is no longer needed. Thank you for listening to what I was just talking about. Don't ever blame me if you feel like I just tried to, if the feeling ever comes to you that I just tried to tell you what to do like I'm your father. Because I'm not your father. I'm not your father's father. I'm not your baby mother's father. So, like I said, I've always marketed this as entertainment. This is entertainment. And if you were not entertained today, it's not that I didn't do my job. You didn't do your job. But as an adult. So on the most positive note, let's get down to the supporter list. Now this supporter list just got crazy. Shout out to Juanita Hooper. Shout out to Shamia Skinner. Shout out to Chris Vasquez. Shout out to my mans. I took another cat name down, but when I got back, I guess I didn't save it or something like that. So if you know who I'm talking about, the cat that I'm talking about, I talked about how I need topics for my Saturday discussions, for my random discussions. If you know who I'm talking about, leave a comment on one of my videos with your name, and I'm gonna be sure to put you in the supporter shoutouts, man, cause you the best too, man. Shout out to my anonymous patrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Shout out to all my anonymous patrons. Again, shout out to Juanita Hooper, Shamia Skinner, Chris Vasquez, and shout out to my mans who didn't make it to the supporter list because I messed up. That's my fault. I'm going to get back to you. I'm going to find you. I'm going to hunt you down. I'm going to do whatever I need to do. I'm going to get you. But, exactly. I find that was very fitting that, I focused this on people being adult, and I just became a victim of my own hypocrisy. So I'm going to take that up. But that just goes to show that my stuff is on point. It's always going to be on point. Don't ever say it's not on point. And if you do, just don't say it to me. Thank you. Have a good day.